Hello everybody and welcome to this Doctor Who video. Now it's not a review this month, I was planning to do a review, but I thought since the series was going to come back very soon, we're talking potentially 6 weeks away here, I still think it's going to be the 6th of October it broadcasts, the first episode of Series 11, but since Doctor Who is coming back, I thought I'd start the ball rolling of content that you'll see a lot more of over the next few months. I am planning to do a first impressions reaction of every episode as it airs within 24 to 48 hours of the episode airing. So you'll get 2 videos a week basically for about 10 weeks. But I thought before I did that, this is a perfect time to go over a list that I've been looking at, and I've been painstakingly trying to go over and thinking, and the order keeps changing at the moment. And it's a list of my favourite Doctors from the very beginning through to Peter Capaldi. We're talking about the linear progression from William Hartnell all the way through to Peter Capaldi. So that includes John Hurt's War Doctors. There's 13 Doctors all in this list. I'm only including my favourite Doctors based on the television adventures only. So when I mean television, I mean things that have been broadcast in a scheduled time first before they're released in other formats. Okay, so Night of the Doctor doesn't get included, unfortunately. So that second Paul McGann story, effectively, that people count, isn't going to be there. It's not classed as part of this run. Neither's audio, neither's books, neither's any written media. Nothing like that is going to be here. It's all going to be based on my watching of the Doctors through from 1963 to Twice Upon a Time at Christmas. So that's my list of my favourite Doctors. Now, before I go any further and go into number 13, just let you know, I love all the Doctors. I love them all. But there's some Doctors I prefer over others for the characterizations and the way they work and the actors behind them in some cases as well. So here we go. We have number 13, which is John Hurt, the War Doctor. Now, I think you kind of knew this was coming when I kind of eliminated Night of the Doctor. He's only got appearance of maybe, 15 minutes or so of screen time on his, really, for him, because it's a multi-Doctor story at the end of the day. It's David Tennant, Matt Smith and John Hurt. But I love the character of the War Doctor. I do like this kind of broken man that he's coming across, but there wasn't enough time for me to make an opinion of this Doctor. And he just down the bottom purely on lack of time, not because of anything that the actor did, because John Hurt is and was a brilliant actor. Number 12, I think you think this one was coming, and it is the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker. I think you knew that was coming, because obviously all these lists you get with favourite Doctors, he tends to be languishing in the bottom. I know there's a few people out there who would probably say that he's not. He should be higher up, and of course I appreciate that and I accept that. There are a couple of choices to make later on that people think should be bottom down the line as well, but this is my personal opinion, not yours. I'm sorry to say that, but it is. It's my opinion, it's my list. And I feel that Colin Baker's 6th Doctor should have had another season. If he had another season, I think we would have seen a development a la Peter Capaldi. I think he was too gruff, he didn't mellow enough, and don't get me wrong, Colin Baker plays the part to perfection. There's not a duff time he does anything, but the characterisation just wasn't for me, isn't for me. I enjoy the stories, but it's not, and I enjoy the Doctor, but I don't like the Doctor as much as I do others. Number 11, the 1st Doctor, William Hartnell. Now, there is a part of bias here, because obviously I was a Doctor Who fan from the TV movie. So I started in 1996 as a hardcore fan, so it's been over 20 years now I've been a Doctor Who fan as such. So watching all the stuff and seeing all the stuff back, I like the betrayal that Hartnell does, but it's of its time, and maybe it's me. Maybe it's just a time thing, maybe it's a maturity thing, but Hartnell doesn't rate as high for me as he used to. And there's a few elements here. And it's the same with some of the Doctors on here, actually. They don't rate as high as I used to. And I think my appreciation of the 1st Doctor has changed through me watching the whole series from the beginning up to the present day, when I did my marathon type thing in 2013, 2014. So I do understand where I'm coming from this. And that kind of brings me on to the 10th choice, which is the 3rd Doctor, Jon Pertwee. Now, I love the characterisation of the 3rd Doctor, but there's too many stories and tropes that the Third Doctor just falls into again and again and again and again. And I love his cross between working with the establishment and becoming anti-establishment and railing against the authorities. But Pertwee's Doctor only really comes into his own in the latter half of his fourth season and into his fifth. Up to that point, the stories are very politically motivated. They're very of their time. They're actually a little bit dated, apart from exceptions of Inferno and possibly maybe something like Curse of Peladon. But the rest of the stories, the unit. I love the unit idea, and I love the Master as well. But my appreciation after watching the whole series is he doesn't rate as highly as he used to, if I'm honest. Number 9. Quite high up because I love the characterization of this Doctor. Number 9 is the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann. I love Paul McGann's characterization. I think it is kind of, a kind of rose-tinted spectacles a little bit because the TV movie was the first proper story that made me a fan, made me want to go back and see the rest of it. I'm weird like that. I'm kind of the interregnum type fan that started in the interregnum because I was too young to watch it when it was first going out, and I'm too old to watch it as a child when it came back as a new series. So I'm kind of in between. But I appreciate it all. I always do. I always have. So McGann, I love the performance of McGann. It's just he needed more. He needed more time. And if he had more time, then he would be absolutely... I think he would be a great Doctor. The audio dramas does say that. But for the TV appearance only... he only languishes at the bottom half of the table. Speaking of bottom halves, this is the last of the bottom half, really. Number 8 is the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. Now, Capaldi is a brilliant actor. He's got the same credentials as Colin Baker, never puts a foot wrong. He's a brilliant actor, and he has the cycle that Sixth Doctor should have had. He has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The Sixth Doctor only had a beginning and a kind of middle and never had an end. I'd love to have seen him do another season. I know logistically why he didn't do another season, but I'd love for Capaldi to do just one more season just to see if this Doctor that I was starting to enjoy in Series 10 could become more than what he became. And because of the writing and the characterization in the early parts, I'm not as much a fan of this Doctor as I would be others further up on the list. Right, number 7, Eccles, Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor. Now I love Eccleston's Doctor. He brought back Doctor Who for me as a series ongoing concern for people to take an interest on. If it wasn't for Eccleston, you wouldn't have Tennant. So he is well appreciated right in the middle of the table. But because he is the beginning of the new series, he does have a middle point to me. It's one of these things, again, the reason why some of these Doctors are lower down is because they don't have enough time to do what they need to do as the character. And there's a couple later on that have the same thing. But Eccleston, I really wanted to see another series. I think Eccleston would have been one of the top Doctors if he'd had another season, because it was all there. He did a journey. He went from a very very broken man to somebody who has been redeemed with Rose. And I think obviously another season it would have worked. I think we would have seen possibly maybe a romance similar to what Tennant and Rose did, but maybe in a more sibling way, maybe brother sister way, family way, which may have worked out better. Then we go to number 6, which is Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. Now, I like Matt Smith's Doctor. Very quirky, very much a Troughton-esque and McCoy-esque elements to him as well. A lot of people don't realise this, but if you look at Matt Smith's Doctor, he's very dark, like the 7th Doctor. Matt Smith, for me, doesn't pull off the darker moments and the whimsical as well as McCoy does. But I do like Matt Smith's portrayal. I think the thing that let him down was the scripting, and the stories were a bit rubbish and a bit gash at times. And to be fair, every era has its bash times and things they don't like or I do like. But Matt Smith really was, the dark fairy tale went a bit too dark, I think, and it went one further from what the McCoy era did when it comes to the darker stuff. So Matt Smith is the 6th favourite Doctor. The 5th favourite Doctor is Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor. I love Davison's portrayal. It's vastly different from Tom Baker's. It's very understated. It's very human. It's the first time we see such a young incarnation of the Doctor. Now, I like the 5th Doctor, and I think his first and last seasons are brilliant. His middle one's a bit iffy, but I love Davison's portrayal. I love that young Doctor. The Caves of Androzani is one of my favourite stories, but it was too late. It should have been late earlier on, and I think Davison might have stayed another season. But it was really fun. Number 4. Now everybody's going to be up in arms on this. Number 4 is the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker. Now, before you jump down my throat, of course, Tom Baker was the Doctor and still is to the Doctor, to himself, even to this day. However, there is a lot of problems I find in the middle 3 seasons. When Graham Williams took over as producer, the first 3 are gold. Brilliant stories, apart from Revenge of the Cybermen. I love all the stories in those first 3 seasons. Very gothic horror. It's I like that style. I'm not really a horror fan, but I like the way they portrayed it on there. It's kind of family friendly horror. I love that. And then the last season, I've got a fondness for. I do like season 18, The Leisure Hive, State of Decay, and Keeper Traken are some of my favourites of that season. But I do like the Tom Baker's performance in either end of his era. His middle era, he got too silly. Yeah, City of Death is an exception. Maybe the Pirate Planet, and potentially we're talking something like the Android Zatara and Stones of Blood. But really, a lot of the stuff in that middle period, seasons 15, 16, and 17, it's very silly. It kind of brings down the character down a bit too wild, a bit too over the top. Loved in America. That's how Doctor Who became known as a cult in America before Matt Smith's era launched it into what it is now. But it was really Tom Baker that made in America, and I can understand that. The quirkiness is there. I love the quirkiness, and every single Doctor that I have in this list is quirky now, is quirky for me, and is justifiably supposed to be in the top 5. I love the quirks that these Doctors have, and I love the characterizations that they're portrayed with them. Number 3. Now we're in the top 3. Okay, so that means we've only got 3 Doctors left. I think you have a rough idea which 3 are. Well, you should now have an idea what 3 they are. Number 3 is the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton. Now, the reason Troughton is here because he set the bar for a lot of the Doctors that followed. If it wasn't for Troughton, there wouldn't be Doctor Who today. He did a lot for the series, and I love the cosmic hobo uncle type persona that he gives, which comes across with McCoy, it comes across with Matt Smith, it comes across with some of the other Doctors as well, like John Pertwee has an element of it as well. But the craziness and the way Troughton plays it, it's just mesmerising to watch. And every time new stuff comes out with Troughton that becomes available either animated or comes through from things that were found, it just amazes me. Enemy of the World is actually, people love Web of Fear, but I prefer Enemy of the World of the 2 stories that were found in 2013. I actually prefer Enemy of the World. I love the way that Troughton plays 2 different characters, the Salamander and the Doctor, and they work well. And Troughton has a great acting chops as well, and he really has played it as a character and made the Doctor, basically set the framework for characters like Matt Smith's Doctor. Matt Smith's Doctor is very much influenced with Pat Troughton. You can see that in the whimsical side. The darker side is of other elements, and obviously I've explained that already. But I do love Troughton's Doctor for the fact that he set a bar that none of the Doctors really have managed to match in regards to characterization. There's always something that is missing from them because that character is completely different from what Troughton was as a person. Troughton was a lot different from what the persona was, and I loved the characterization that he did. 2 to go. Now, that means you know which 2 are left, and I'm going to get absolutely roasted on the comments because I'm going to put number 2 as the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. This was difficult. The top 5 is very difficult. I've been changing the order quite a few times before I recorded this. But David Tennant is my second favourite Doctor. Now, he can be a little bit arrogant at times, but I do love the whimsical nature of the 10th Doctor. It's a modern take, and you can understand why he was such a popular Doctor at the time. Young, a la Peter Davison, very human, a la Peter Davison. But he's also got very dark and wild pictures of the 4th Doctor, and the dark tones that you get in later Doctors, like Matt Smith and obviously Peter Capaldi, and the darker side of Colin Baker. You could see that as well. The justice factor is absolutely fantastic, and I do really enjoy the 10th Doctor as a Doctor himself, and I could watch most of the stories pretty well. There's a couple of iffy ones in there, but that's the same with any era, and Midnight is probably one of my favourite Tennant episodes. The technicalities of that story, as much as anything else, is fantastic. But the Doctor himself, Tennant, was brilliant. I think he left at the right time. If he did another season, I think he would have been diluted. I think he would have went down the way of Tom Baker. I think he left perfectly at the right time. If he'd been any longer, he would have maybe been a bit further down this list. But he didn't. He left. And obviously we saw the good elements of the 10th Doctor as well as some of the bad ones in Day of the Doctor. Which means, and it's no surprise to friends of mine who my top Doctor is, but it is a shock to the wider YouTube community. And my apologies, but I do love this Doctor. And it is coloured by certain events and the way I've become a fan and things like that. And that is the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. Now, very rarely does this Doctor get so high up, but there is an appreciation with McCoy that's coming back now, McCoy's 7th Doctor that's coming back from the modern fans when they're going backwards. They are relating to the 7th Doctor a lot, and it was pointed out to me the other day by David Osborne, who does a channel and does Doctor Who reviews and lots of anime and Game of Thrones and things like that. And he's a work colleague and he has a channel, and I will put a link down below. Now, he mentioned to me that McCoy's later stories, there really isn't much of a difference between Survival and Rose. There is really just a natural development. So Russell D Davies really did work on that. And it shows that if the 7th Doctor era lasted at least another season, it would be very close to Modern Who. There's not really been, it's slightly never been away really, but I do love McCoy's character. And yes, I do appreciate that some of the stories are rubbish, but McCoy always works for me in regards to the way he reacts to the situation. Yes, it's a bit clownish to start with, but that's understandable. He has developed, he came from a comedy background, and there's very Troughton-esque elements of him to start with. But he very quickly starts maturing into this darker character. By the time Remembrance of the Daleks comes around, his character is very dark. I know the Happiness Patrol comes yet next, and that is one of my favourite stories of all time, the Happiness Patrol. And the reason I like it is because it's just the right mix of the whimsical Doctor that we had earlier in his era, and the Doctor that's darker and more subtle. That is there as well. The scheming Doctor is there, and the balcony scene is one of the best examples in the series, as far as I can see, of that Doctor. Of his character, and this is why I love McCoy's Doctor. It is coloured a little bit by the fact, of course, that when I became a fan back in 1996, the first jumping back point would be McCoy's era, and it was, remember, for 16 years, the last up-to-date Doctor Who series we had was 2026. So I watched a lot of McCoy, and I've really grown to love the character. I can see the flaws, I can see the foibles of why people like it, but I really do enjoy McCoy's characterization. I think it's I'm sorry, I just love the character, and I hope that you guys get a chance to appreciate McCoy in that way as well, because I think it's really cool, a cool thing that he did, and the cool way he came about and created the character. And he is the first of a completely different type as well. He's the first non-RP speaking Doctor. So he doesn't have the received pronunciation the previous 6 has. He's got that Scottish lilt. He really is a blueprint for a lot of the Doctors of the modern age, and Capaldi has a lot of has influence from that. So does Matt Smith. So does, to an extent, does David Tennant, and so of course does Chris Eccleston. Every Doctor since has had an influence from McCoy in one way or another. The only one that's really been different, of course, the really two have only been different, of course, is the War Doctor and the 8th Doctor. But every other Doctor can refer back to some sort of element from that plot line and that relationship with the companion, with Ace, from that era. So that's why he's top for me, because he's been the biggest influence for my watching of Doctor Who, my understanding of Doctor Who, and as far as I'm concerned, the whole development of the series going forward. But that's it for now. That was a lot, and very quick as well. But that's the 13 Doctors, in the order that I like them as it currently stands. Obviously, Jodie Whittaker is about to start a new series. I might redo this after the first season is out. Maybe go back to it again once I've spent a bit of time simmering over the new series with the 13th Doctor. And it may change again. The next time I do this list, if I ever do it again, it may be a completely different order. But that is the order I have at the moment. That's the current order. So tell me what your favourite Doctors are from 13 through to 1st in the comments. You can even do a video response and reply back to me. All you need to do is do a video response, send me the link, share me the link through the Deanstructor Facebook or through Twitter. Or through the Tumblr, go through the social media links, share it with me that way. I will then refer to the video, I will then link to the video itself, and obviously link to me on that video as well. Refer to me as that video, and let's get a conversation going, let's get a discussion going, and have a bit of a response between each other. But even if you don't, just comment below what your favourite Doctors are, rank them from 13 up to 1. Tell me what you think, why you don't think my list is perfect, what your personal opinions. And remember, this is personal opinions. It's not a definitive list. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button below. Don't forget to share it as well if you like this video. And if you like this whole channel as a whole with all my other Doctor Who stuff that's in the playlist up above, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. I do post a video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. Next week is a random video. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I might do a Kidstructor. I might not. I haven't decided yet. Whatever happens, the video is out next Sunday, 4 PM GMT. I hope to see you then. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.